Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Ipswich Central Redevelopment Committee number 9 of 2021, 7th of October. And I open the meeting at 11:35. I note that all councillors, committee members are in attendance. No councillors' apologies. Do we have any declarations of interest on matters arising? No. No business outstanding. So we might move straight into item number 1, which is confirmation of the minutes of the Ipswich Central Redevelopment Committee number 8, 2nd September 2021. I will move that. Could I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Milligan. Any discussion? No, we'll put the matter straight to the vote. All those in favour, noting that's unanimous and carried. Thank you. Now moving on to item number 2 on the agenda, which is the officers' reports for the Nicholas Street Precinct Retail Subproject Steering Committee report of September 2021, and it's the report concerning the Retail Subproject Steering Committee on the status of the leasing program and associated developments within the Nicholas Street Precinct redevelopment. Would anyone like to speak to the relevant... Sorry, I would like to speak to the relevant council officer. Come forward, please. Good morning. Would you please state your name and title?
My name is James Hepburn. I'm the chair of the Retail Subproject Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Hepburn. I have a few questions arising from the minutes of the steering committee. Can I just ask, firstly, in relation to the DA development application in relation to the Commonwealth Hotel, can I just get a bit more detail on the proposed timing? I note that the development application is being prepared and, to be submitted to council, we will then need to go through a procurement process as well as enter into a formal agreement with the prospective tenant. So can you kind of walk us through the expected timeline? Yeah.
Okay, I'll cover 3 main headings there. The DA and the design side of things, the procurement process for a contractor to come on board and undertake the extension works, and the third being the leasing timing with the prospective tenant. As the report picks out, the DA has been submitted. It's essentially for a large-scale extension to the historic Commonwealth Hotel. That extension is over a number of floors that essentially work out the back of the building, so none of this will be seen from the front of the building from the heritage angle. The extension multi-level actually goes down towards Bell Street Green, so there's 2 different levels with Bremner Street, Bell Street Green, and with Union Place, and the building extension takes that form on, so it enables car park access from Bell Street Green straight into the back of the Commonwealth Hotel. The back element of that Commonwealth Hotel extension is predominantly outdoor dining with kitchens and their gaming room and licensing happening almost at a basement level underneath. So it's very much away from the public perception and family environment that will be taking place within the main part of the hotel. The detailed design element of it hasn't commenced, and we're just at the planning stage. That's going to twin track with the procurement process to find a construction partner, which we are into at the moment. Our project management team are currently writing that tender with ourselves and the procurement team, and we're looking to release that to the market in about November time.
Okay.
I expect that will take 2 to 3 months to come through, and we'll be able to look at a number of prices and partners to see who's best placed to deliver that extension with us, by which point as well we'll also have the agreement for lease concluded with the party that we've selected. And the current negotiations there are going quite well, and they're very much into the detailed design element of the interior fit out. So we're quite excited by some of the things we've seen to date. So all being well, we're aiming really to be in a start-on-site place by sort of first or second quarter next year, which would lead us a really tight program into an opening before Christmas, which is our plan, but there's a bit to get over before we can commit to a particular date.
Okay. Thank you. And I think you've touched on another question I had, which was around how closely we are working with prospective tenant or tenants around the design for the extension. Now, I know council's architect and advisors, heritage advisors, have worked on this project to ensure that the extension is very sympathetic to the beautiful old pub, which is currently standing. I guess what I'm trying to determine, so that it is fit for purpose, have we worked closely with several prospective tenants or parties in the market to ensure that it's workable?
Yeah. So the current design is based on a market-led approach. The DA that's been submitted is very functional in its sense, and it's very much related around the party that we have selected to take the lease. They have helped us in many ways actually design how the exterior of that space would come together and how the multi-layer element would work, as we're very much talking about storage areas, places where there are dumbwaiters leading to kitchens, and really getting, I mean, this is going to be a large hotel. There'll be a lot of back of house that really needs to work seamlessly with the delivery of food and drink and hospitality within that space. We have now got to move into the next phase as we're leading into procurement, and that is the real part of the detailed design, where we start to join with the tenant and with our heritage team internally to tease out what the look and the feel, what the colour, what the material types of the hotel are. What does it stand for? How is it going to celebrate the Commonwealth Hotel and that location in particular? So that's still yet to come. There'll be an exciting couple of months for all of us to go through there.
Thank you, Mr. Hepburn, how do we manage the risk of working so closely with one individual prospective tenant who potentially heavily influences the design? Worst case scenario, that tenant loses interest. It's still going to be a marketable product.
Yeah, we have a number of safety nets, if I call it that. I think the design's very functional, and within a planning approval, we're going to be able to manoeuvre within that to move things around, because we are still going to move things around as we go through this process. We're going to learn a lot more over the next few months. So it may be that a kitchen that's tucked up in the left-hand corner just starts moving a bit closer to one of the bars. So there's a bit of that still to play out, and most of it, if anything, would fall under minor amendments through a planning process. The tenant that we have selected, I can't remember, but off the top of my head, I believe it's an initial term of 10 years, with extensions taking them up to 20 or perhaps even 25 years. Through the negotiations, they have requested that they want a 25-year lease. So we know that these guys are committed for the long term, and that together we're designing a long-term solution for the extension to the Commonwealth Hotel.
Okay, thank you. I've got a couple of further questions, but not specifically related to the Commonwealth Hotel. Do any committee members know? Okay, so Mr. Hepburn, could you talk to us about the lease status, our prospective tenants within Metro A, B, Eats and Venue? I guess just some general commentary around the current state of the market. Everyone is very aware of the market conditions with COVID, but outside of COVID, I guess there's always different times in the market where, you know, the landlord may be in a better bargaining position with regards to the types of incentives they need to offer, rent abatement, capital contribution. Are you seeing a fluctuation? Where is the market at, I guess, from a retail leasing perspective?
Yeah, not dissimilar from the current residential market. It's very much a seller's market there. We're in a place where it's a tenant market. There's a lot of risk being pushed back onto the landlord, which is represented in our budgets with the incentives. The rents that we're achieving are market rents, which are proven up through the third-party review, which is Knight Frank, and those rents relate back to, not dissimilar to the likes of Springfield, Yamanto, and other regional centres around Brisbane. We're not so worried, really. I think the COVID piece is slowly but surely falling away. We're watching what's happening in the Northern Hemisphere. What's happening down in New South Wales and Victoria is hurting us a bit. A lot of our tenants are based down there. They've had to close lots of operations, and that's from cinemas to eateries to bars. So some of the leasing deals are a bit slower coming through because dealing with the property teams is quite difficult. But as it stands, we're still attracting good attention to our leasing. The EATS phase is essentially going to be practically complete in a couple of weeks' time. As we all know, we have our first signed lease there, and we'll be looking at doing some sort of public release in the next week or so, joint with the tenant coming in, and a lot of vinyls and photographs to really celebrate that moment. Alongside them, there'll be a coffee shop and hopefully a burger operator. And then upstairs, we've talked about this before, we've got the gym operators and a yoga studio. So the EATS building is really going to be coming alive towards the end of this year and very much early into next year. And the other part is Metro B. Now, Metro B is due to open around Easter next year. So we're still very much in the construction phase. There's no mass urgency to get leases signed, but that's starting to come up as the year comes to a close. There are a lot of really good tenants lined up in legals at the moment there, and they're still spending money on design. They're still spending money on their legal fees, and they still very much appear committed to what we're trying to achieve. There's one in particular that's very much sees themselves linked to the cinema delivery. They're also a Melbourne-based company, so they're finding it a bit more difficult to gain traction with us at the moment. And we also had a burger operator within Metro B that we decided to cancel discussions with just towards the end of last week, as we had a better offer for the EATS building, and because of their COVID afflictions and their real lack of desire to engage with us properly, we felt it better just to end that and move on, which is why you'll see from the change from August there's a -1 on the heads of term side. But I only saw that as a positive point because it actually frees up a really good unit for us to use for someone else. Metro A, you mentioned at the start, is still a long way from being actually planned and designed, so there's not much to say there.
Okay. If we move, I guess, to the cinema, and as we all know, our Nicholas Street Precinct is about food and entertainment, and I'm absolutely delighted by the offerings within the food market that are knocking on our doors, but they are waiting on the entertainment aspect. We need that one locked away, and that being the cinema.
Yes, yeah.
Where are we
the cinema
at?
very much supports the overall value of the centre and of the surrounding tenancies that we're delivering. I'm not saying that the tenancies we're delivering would walk away if the cinema wasn't there, but they are their turnover and their sales is very much based off of having an anchor cinema within that scheme. It's the footfall the cinema brings in. It's the draw card that it takes across the region and within the market. So it's a very important part to our scheme. The procurement process is a bit difficult to talk about because of the level of confidentiality. We have been delayed due to the complexity of it, and also delayed due to a number of the operators that we're in discussions with being predominantly based outside of Queensland. So they've had to close a lot of their cinemas and deal with the repercussions of that and the COVID situation. But we do have an RFI going out very shortly, if not already today, where we should have some more information in a couple of weeks' time.
Okay. Any other questions? No.
I think you've covered it, Chair.
I do have a couple of questions, and I'm not sure, Mr. Hepburn, if you'll be able to answer them or if we need another council officer, just around the signage. Specifically, I'm followed up by the community when we might see the signage / wayfinding for example, Tillman Place and Crib and Foot Lane. Just wondering how that is progressing.
Yeah, I'll cover that off, and if I get it wrong, I'm sure Karen will quickly let me know. We have, about a month ago, secured a wayfinding and signage specialist called Strategic Spaces. They have come in under the banner of the contract that we have with the main contractor, Hutchinson, to deliver the signage. So we're very much into now the first round of design of what the wayfinding and signage looks like for the precinct. And then the next level is how that interacts with traditional council signage, from licensing to laws and that sort of thing.
Okay.
We're hoping to see early next week what that looks like as a strategy and as a first glance. And then it's very much a big job for us to interact with all the different departments within council to make sure that we do this as one piece.
Fantastic. That was going to be my next question. Are we talking with the other relevant departments? Because obviously we're moving towards some new wayfinding and signage just in wider Ipswich Central.
Yeah, and it's been purposely left to this point in time because essentially until the scheme is up and running, until people are engaging with it and walking through it, it's very difficult to deliver signage in the right places.
Mm-hmm.
And from my experience, all the schemes I've worked on in the past, we've generally put up temporary signage for the first year to then follow on with permanent signage a bit later on.
Okay. And just finally, I note within the minutes, our item was discussed around Tillman Place, discussion on the application of future fees and charges. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure how much of this we can actually speak in open session. Can you explain what that is, please?
We're currently working alongside Ben's team in economic development to really gauge what is it the Tillman Place and the public spaces can do. There's an element that's going to be Nicholas Street Precinct, which is quite a commercial element. Mm-hmm. And there's obviously a huge element, which is a civic element. And it's hard to say, really. I think we're in a space at the moment where we need to evolve as a council to understand how we use those spaces, how we charge for them, what we use them for, how we attract particular use types into them.
Okay, Mayor?
May I ask, with the wayfinding and obviously consulting with different departments, just ensuring that you are also coming back to councillors as well for consultation?
Yes, of course.
With us, thank you.
Yeah.
Any further questions? No. Thank you, Mr. Hepburn.
Thank you.
Can I have somebody to move? Thank you, Mayor Harding, and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Johnnick. Is there any discussion? Yes, Councillor Kunzelman? Yes?
Yes.
So that's an additional recommendation, B?
Yes, sorry, an additional recommendation. That attachment 1 titled Retail Subproject Steering Committee report be received, and the content noted, which is A, and B would be that attachment 1 titled Draft Retail Subproject Steering Committee Minutes September 21 be amended by removing Councillor Kunzelman from the observers list. Thank you.
If I may point out that I noticed that it's 3 councils listed as observers, but then has them listed also, so it's apologies.
Sorry, I didn't hear.
There are 3 councils listed as observers, but then they are all listed as apologies as well. So there's an inconsistency in the paperwork there. On page 17 of 32.
So,
If you go to the minutes,
Yeah,
the meeting on the
so,
15th of September.
I think Councillor Kunzelman, the additional recommendation B, I'm not sure that it is required then if you're listed as an apology. You've expressed...
I can't be both. Sorry, I can't be both, that's all.
I just note, Councillor Doyle, your name and also the Deputy Mayor's name is also listed as both apologies and as observers. So the 3 of you are listed.
Yeah. So we...
If I may, Chair?
Yes, thank you,
Through
Councillor.
the Chair, I would take that, the list of observers as a position.
Thank
not
you,
that they
that's
were in
my
attendance as an
understanding.
observer.
Yeah.
That's their position
Not
with
members.
regards to that
No, that's right.
subcommittee.
Yeah,
And that there are apologies received from the 3 councillors.
I agree. Thank you, Councillor
Thank you,
Milligan.
yes, I agree.
Okay. I think so, thank you. The mover, Mayor Harding, Deputy Mayor, do you agree with
No, I think what I think we've agreed that we don't need.
Yeah, that's
item
correct.
B.
Yeah,
We don't need
okay,
item B.
sorry, yeah.
Is that?
So
my
withdrawing the
confirmation that
recommendation?
I guess what I'm asking
Yeah.
if Councillor Coons was going to withdraw that.
I am withdrawing, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I am withdrawing, thank you.
Okay, is there any further discussion or commentary amongst the committee? No, we'll put the matter to the vote. All those in favour, noting that's unanimous and carried. Moving on to item number 3 on the agenda, which is the Nicholas Street Precinct Communications Engagement and Events Report for August 2021. And that report concerns the communications and engagement and events activity undertaken and planned for the Nicholas Street Precinct during September. Would anyone like to speak to the relevant council officer? No? Okay. Could I have a mover for that? Thank you, Councillor Milligan, and a seconder. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any discussion? Thank you, Mayor Harding.
If I may, obviously wonderful upcoming events that are coming. I just like to point out to the residents and the community, you'll see that's got the Day for Daniel Walk on Friday the 29th of October. But I also note that during, whether it's State of Origin or during Spark, that one Nicholas Street, one of the sides, it has a spectacular LED technology. So if anyone would like the one Nicholas Street to be lit up, whether it's orange for Zonta or purple for DVAC or anything like that, just contact your councillor and we can organise that as well. So I think it's really important when we're looking at whether it's multicultural events or community events like this, it'll be really great for us to utilise that asset.
Yes, fantastic point, Mayor, and noting it was also recently lit up in yellow for the Alison Baden Clay
That's right,
Foundation, and we did discuss and became aware that the community does have access to that wonderful technology. So we certainly need to follow that up and make sure the process is
We don't have a formal process yet, but I'm saying if you contact your councillor, we can initiate that internally.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So anyone in the community can do that.
Okay. If there's nothing further, I'll put the matter to the vote. All those in favour, noting... Sorry? Oh, Councillor Kunzelman, my apologies.
Thank you. I propose a recommendation, which would be recommendation B, that the opening hours of the Bradfield Bridge, as outlined on page 32 of the agenda, be replaced... Sorry. I propose recommendation which would be recommendation B, that the opening hours of the Bradfield Bridge, as outlined on page 32 of the agenda, be replaced with open 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. instead of 6 a.m. to 9 a.m.
Good pick up. Thank you, Councillor Kunzelman. The mover and seconder agree with those proposed amendments? Thank you. Okay, if there's nothing further, I'll put the matter to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous and carried. Thank you,
Sorry, through you, Chair, just as a matter of consistency, historically the retail committee, the apologies are listed and the observers, they're not listed twice historically if they were not present. So just as a note for consistency moving forward, I'm just looking at their minutes from the July committee.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Johnnick, noted. I'll keep an eye on that. Okay, I note there are no notices of motion today, no matters arising, so I'll call the meeting to a close at 12:20 p.m. Definitely need to head to OPSM.
Very small.
The CEO is aware that I've got an issue with my eyes at the moment. Closed at 12 p.m. Thank you.